Hey everybody, I'm Angela. Welcome back. So this video is actually going to be a bit of a swerve from what I normally do, but it's all connected, I promise, and I hope that you stick with me. So I have some notes right here because I'm going to be talking about something interesting to me anyways. So right now, between July 19th and July 21st, the sky, hang out with me, is forming one of the rarest planetary configurations of the century. I'm gonna get a little woo-woo, so if I lose you, I understand, but I hope you stick around because it all sort of blends together in the way that things are happening right now. And I want to start off by saying I am 100% not an astrologer. It is just sort of a guilty pleasure that I have of watching tarot and astrology videos and just kind of the fascination that I have with the way that patterns and the stars and the planets align and all of these different things. But I don't look to the stars to figure out how to run my life or, to know what's going to happen with my bank account. It's just something that I really enjoy watching. And like I said, there's all of these patterns and really interesting features of astrology, especially that I find really fascinating. So that's why I want to talk about this today. So as I was saying, right now, between July 19th and July 21st, there's this huge planetary configuration that's called Barbault Basket. Over the last few weeks, I've started to see this name come up on these astrology videos, and I thought it was really interesting because I had never ever heard of this at all. And so I started sort of watching a few of the videos, and then I started doing some reading online, and I am fascinated because what's happening with this specific astrological event, so to speak, very much is in line and in tune with what so many of us are going through right now. So when I started reading more and learning more about this really rare phenomenon, I couldn't ignore how perfectly I felt this connected to what I'm going through in my life and in my business, and what I see so many of us in our 40s navigating right now. And it's just really fascinating because it is very much connected to what's happening in our reality right now. And so whether you believe in the stars and the moons and astrology and all of that, or if you just love a good system or structural framework, definitely stick around because I'm going to share a little bit about Barbault, and then I'm just going to kind of talk about how this all relates to our lives and our business, and especially this new chapter that a lot of us millennials are going through right now. So bear with me. I actually have some notes here because I wrote it out because I didn't want to get it wrong. Andre Barbault was one of the best known astrologers in the 20th and 21st centuries, and he devoted particular attention to the cycles of slow-moving planets and the connections that they possibly had to major events and historical processes. And so his research was based on really long-term observation of planetary configurations, and he documented these periods when planets formed specific patterns, and he analyzed their relationships to one another during these specific times. Now, the really cool thing is that throughout his career, he made a lot of astrological predictions. He ended up forecasting some really interesting information based on the stars and the positions of the planets. For example, he predicted a lot of major political changes that happened over the years. He predicted the collapse of the Soviet Union. He even predicted things like the global crisis of COVID-19. And specifically now in 2026, his works emphasize the configuration that's happening of all of these heavy-hitting planets that could actually mark a major turning point in the development of society and the world at large. The Barbault Basket itself involves a massive harmonizing alignment of some really big heavy-hitting planets in astrology: Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So you don't really need to know anything about the planets or what they do or their significance, anything like that. You don't need to know any of that. Basically, the entire thesis statement of the Barbault Basket is really simple, but really, really profound. Survival mode is officially over, and the rebuilding process has begun. Like, isn't that so freaking cool, the way that that totally connects to me, to so many of us that are going through this crazy chapter? And for our generation, especially those of us navigating our 40s right now, this hits incredibly close to home. And I just find it so fascinating, this connection. A lot of us have spent so many years of our lives just, surviving on caffeine and hustle and vibes. And we're just finally hitting this place where we can navigate these new shifts in different ways. But because of the Barbault Basket and sort of this major astrological event, the scaffolding is shifting. It's creating this new, unique period of introspection, but also stabilization. And to me, that sounds friggin' amazing. So essentially, this whole thesis aligns with what's going on and what's happening in our lives, because I know for me, it has felt like these last few years have really been just this controlled demolition. And I'm starting to find that old systems and old structures and old personal beliefs are cracking and shattering in ways that I never really expected. I don't know if you felt like this, but I definitely have, that, I'm trying to understand how my life got to where it is, why this is where it is, and sort of starting to understand that whole demolition phase and why it was happening. This is finally a period where the dust is starting to settle, the chaos is going to start slowing down, and where we can actually pour a really solid foundation for our lives and the world. And I don't really want to get political, but this also helps to understand maybe a lot of the craziness and the demolition of our government, our political systems, our beliefs, our thoughts, our ideas, how we move in the world. All of these things have changed so dramatically in the last few years. It makes sense that all of this had to come crumbling down in order for us to really take a look at what's important and to start building that stronger, better, more solid foundation so that the rest of our lives can be amazing. So through my watching of videos and reading, I've kind of come up with a few things that I plan on doing this week to sort of take advantage of this energy that's happening. And so the first one is revisiting your intentions with a structural twist. So this is about not just wishing for things anymore. This is about actually writing your goals down, understanding them, focusing on them, and sort of shifting your mode from being passive to being active, that you are building. I am building. Second thing is something I've already started doing, but basically it's auditing my personal narratives and the things that I say to myself, the things that I believe about myself, the things that have been ingrained over my 40 plus years of life through society and family and friends, and of course, social media and news and all of that, and sort of really taking stock of what I know to be true and what I know I can start to let go of and get rid of. Now, because Barbault Basket is about strength and sustainability in these foundations that we're building, one of the things, again, is moving away from hustle and being more intentional and focused on the way that I spend my time and the way that I use my energy, both in business and in my life. The fourth one is actually kind of interesting. Some of us may have actually done this before, but I like this idea of writing a letter from your future self. So essentially, this is sort of taking these anxieties that you're feeling now and thinking about yourself 2 years from now. So let's say, July 2028, you're writing your letter to yourself from this future person that you've become. Describe what you've built, describe what you have successfully done, the goals that you have achieved, all of these different things. And most importantly, tell yourself to just breathe, to let go of those anxieties and to breathe and to tell yourself that it's going to be okay. And then the last one is basically just taking one solid piece of action. So something that you've been thinking about doing for a long time that you just have never gotten to, something that you're nervous to do, like having a really big conversation with somebody, or something that you keep waiting for the right time, the right time. It needs to be the right time for me to do this. Just do that. Identify something and do it this week. And that's sort of where I'm going to be sort of putting my energy this week. Like I said, I know all of this is a little woo, and I totally get it if I lost you, but this is something that's really fascinating. So many patterns and so many interesting connections to what we are actually feeling as a collective right now. And I thought it was pretty neat. And if anything, take out all the woo and just do those things that I talked about, sort of doing those 4 or 5 things that I mentioned and being more introspective. And just like me, going through this whole unlearning process. Essentially, the thing to remember this week is this Barbault Basket, this container for all of these things that we are unlearning. It is providing the foundation, the support to basically tear down all of these old structures and to begin to build anew. And it's not going to do it for you. You have to actually take the actions and do it on your own. But the stars are with you. The astrological events are there to help give you that push. So I don't know if this was interesting for people. I know, like I said, it's a little bit of a swerve from my typical content, but definitely drop a comment to let me know what you're rebuilding and what you're focusing on, and if this is going to change sort of your trajectory of what you do this week and what you focus on. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more.